Real quick, I just want to talk about swag because that seems to come up in the Ibmore Hangouts and the Pookie and Ray Ray debates, and probably going all the way back to the Black Online Gender Wars, talking about swag. And before, because I have children, I have millennial children, I've heard the word swag or the term swag for quite a long time. Even though loosely I know what it means. In fact, I know what it means. The way that it's being used nowadays, it kind of has a broader sense than it used to, because it's changed from one meaning to another, and basically swag means style nowadays, or cool nowadays, which is a far cry from what it meant when I was a teenager or when I was a young man. But since we're talking about it, I thought I would weigh in on it from an old man's perspective that's seen this word grow from its infancy, or the term how it's used to is from its infancy to where it is now. And I kind of think it's interesting the route that it's taken. But let's go back to when I encountered it and where it became really famous. You know, swagger, when I was a kid, used to mean a negative term, meant negative cockiness. But it kind of changed later on when I was a young man. I was a teenager, actually, in 1978, as a matter of fact, when Reggie Jackson joined I think it was 1977 when Reggie Jackson joined the New York Yankees. He was asked, what does it take to win a world championship, a World Series, and become a champion? He said, you need the dudes with the swagger. And what he meant by that is that the athletes, the top tier athletes with the swagger that could actually stand up under pressure and deliver in the big moments, were the guys that were so good and so accomplished and so talented that their attitude borderlined on cockiness. Their confidence was to the point where it was a confident walk, a confident cockiness, not the cockiness that normally it was associated with foolishness, but an accomplished cockiness that you get from being through the wars and doing all the hard work and rising to a level that basically said you were the shit. And then once Reggie Jackson said it, and he said it in baseball, you start hearing the other baseball guys and baseball announcers use it, guys with the swagger. He has swagger. And then it spread to football and basketball and whatever you tool. Now everybody was looking for the big time players, the clutch player, the man that walked with the swagger. And as in the black community, we take our cues from our warriors, which are our athletes, and it filtered down into music, and then it also filtered down into what we call the drug game, where if you were the shit and you were confident and your game was tight, you had swagger. You walk with a swagger. You had a certain walk. You had a certain confidence because you were accomplished, because you had reached certain goals and you were confident in your abilities. There's a certain kind of walk that you have, which is literally what they call a swagger. And then there was a difference between being cool and laid back and having a swagger, or having style and having a swagger. But as we move forward, all that stuff kind of got rolled into one and started to apply to the common man. In other words, it went from the high level, top tier accomplished athletes all the way down to the common man that has a certain style or have the appearance of being cocky or confident. So now if you dressed and you have a certain walk and you have a certain air of confidence, now you have swag or swagger. So now you don't have to be a Masters of the Universe, or you don't have to be a high level athlete. You can be any dude that decides in his mind that I'm going to have some confidence and that I'm going to have some style. And all of a sudden now you have swag, which is not the original meaning, going back to where it came from back some 40 years ago. It's been watered down to the point is now women decide whether you have the swagger or swag according to your sexual attraction. Whereas men used to define it. And men used to determine whether you have the right to even have it, because you would get challenged. If you walk around cocky with a swagger, men would challenge you and make sure that you had the right to actually walk that way. Whether it was on the street with your fist, whether it was in the ring, whether it was on the court. Because trust and believe, back in the day, playing ball, you walk on the field, you walk on the court, and you walk in with that walker, that confidence, that swag. First thing that people do is challenge you. And if you didn't hold up to that attitude, your performance didn't match your attitude, then you get clowned. Because you don't have a right to walk that way. You don't have a right to talk that way. You don't have a right to have that attitude. Because you didn't earn it. But now, swag is bestowed upon you because you dress a certain way, because women find you sexually attractive. And you wonder why old guys like me, or people from my generation, shake our heads and, as Edward Anderson says, wag our fingers at this foolishness about swag. Because back when I was a kid, back when I was a teenager, swag had to be earned, not given. If you were the shit, you had to prove that you were the shit. And only once you proved that you were the shit did you have a right to walk around with that attitude. Now everybody's a hero in his own mind, and everybody has a swag because they say so. And that's the reason a lot of guys get labeled and get mad, because somebody else gave them or refused them the right to have a swagger, the right to have swag. And swag is something you had to earn for yourself. It wasn't given, it was earned. And I still believe it has to be earned. There's a lot of guys walking around saying that they're cool and saying they have swag ain't shit. Motherfucker, just because you talk a certain way and put on a certain hat, or you put on certain clothing, doesn't mean that you have swag. Because there ain't shit to back it up. You're a paper fucking tiger. And as soon as a strong wind comes across, all that stuff gets blown out the window. Just because a chick says you have, a group of women say you have swag doesn't mean shit, because you didn't earn it. And I think the word swag, or the word swagger, should go back to what it used to mean. That you get it, you have the right to walk that way, the right to talk that way, because you are at the top of your game. And you're amongst the elite people that can walk around boastfully with that swag. Have the right to walk that way. And men should go back to challenging other men about that shit. Nigga, I got swag, man. Prove it. Swag at what? What do you do? Don't tell me you have swag just because you have a lot of chicks that like you. And men should start holding men accountable and stop listening to women, because that's what it's all about. Access to pussy. I got swag because I have access to pussy, when originally that had nothing to do with it. You had swagger because you had the respect of men because you earned it. Now a lot of guys are looking for the respect of men because women hold you in high esteem. But that has come from 40 years of the feminist agenda and a lot of baby mamaism that's affecting these young boys in their minds. is what it is. And I guess this turned into a rant instead of a discussion or a ramble. But before it goes into a bigger rant and a bigger ramble, I'm gonna make it semi-short and sweet. That's all I got for this one. This is BGS out, and I will see you guys on the next one.